The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 915. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Pre-order a copy of Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, and all major book retailers worldwide. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Misa Chien, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. I'm really excited to have her on. She's actually the founder of The Authentic Asian, and we actually got to meet last year in LA for the first time in person. And she's also the top 500 Inc. magazine's top female founders of 2025. So I'm also excited about that. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Misa Chien. Misa, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, so great to be with you here today, Sheena. When you asked me to be on this podcast, I'm just so excited to be here because I love your mission. I love what you do. And it's just really an honor to connect with you here today. Yeah, our job, we're in the same mission to just help uplift Asian women and inspire them, bring them more self-confidence. So I'm excited to be here with you and just have a great, genuine, connecting conversation today.
Awesome. And first off, congrats on being, top 500 for Inc. magazine. I think that's amazing. If you look at the number of Asian women, female founders, there's not that many. So, having one more is great. And I hope this opens the door for more Asian female founders to be on that list as well. And Misa, what's your cultural background?
So I'm half Chinese, half Dutch. I grew up kind of being very close to my Chinese side, not just because I skew to look more Asian, but also I was very, very close to my Chinese grandparents, especially my grandfather growing up. He would watch us a lot and really be there for us. And so, I just feel really close to that side of myself.
Thanks for sharing that. And grandparents hold a special place in our hearts, right? Like recently, I lost my grandmother on Christmas Day, so it's been very tough to just know she's not here anymore. But I know, of course, she's looking from up above, being our guardian angel, and they hold such a special place for us, right? I mean, when you talk about unconditional love, yes, our parents love us unconditionally. I'm not saying that, but grandparents just has this special bond that we have, right? So I love that you mentioned that. And, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Okay, so this is so cheesy. It's probably sounds so unoriginal, but I just like the generic anonymous quote, just be yourself. So there's a story behind that. I earned my alumni status at Harvard, and one of the classes that I took is called Business of Entertainment, Media, and Sports. And I could not have more imposter syndrome going there because even though I got in, it's a very hard program to get in. Usually only celebrities are let in. I got in because I was a model at the time looking to transition my personal brand towards something in the business world. And I went in thinking, how can I become more confident like all these celebrities who have these powerful personal brands? We've got Dirk Nowitzki, we've got Tiffany Haddish, we've got, there's a famous Peloton instructor. She's super famous. Now I can't come up with her name on the top of my head. Just so many famous athletes there. And I arrive and, I'm the only Asian there, by the way, of course, because there's so few of us in the spotlight. I was really annoyed about that. But, it's just, I was thinking going into it, what's their secret to success? What's their secret to their confidence in building their personal brand? And by the end, that's the quote that really stuck to me because what happened is I just saw that everyone was being their authentic self. They weren't being fake. They were just being real. I mean, if anyone has seen Tiffany Haddish's movie Girls Trip, she acted how she acts on Girls Trip in the Harvard classroom. It was like she was the same person. I thought, oh my God, she's just being herself unapologetically, just fully being herself and embracing it. And that's where my personal brand really took a turn to be just more myself and to stand out more and to just shout from the rooftops who I really am. And I felt like that really went against a lot, since I did have that half Asian side of me, we're taught to be more collective. We're taught to be less individualistic when you're building your personal brand and when you need to stand out in American society in the world, you have to be more individualistic thinking and learn how to stand out. And that's how I'm hoping more of us can get in the spotlight just by being ourselves and feeling comfortable doing that. So that was a huge aha moment.
I love that quote. And I know, like you mentioned, it does sound cheesy and we've probably heard it a million times, but I mean, it is true. Like showing up as our authentic self, just being our true selves really helps us stand out from the rest. There's like what, over 8 billion people in the world, but there's only one of you. And there's something that you bring to the table that nobody else can. And being able to utilize that can bring you so many opportunities. So I love that you mentioned that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I would say just being unapologetically yourself. And I think that we need to forgive ourselves that we're not perfect. We can make mistakes. We can backtrack. Sometimes a lot of time I backtrack and say, "Oh, should I have done that? Should I have seen?" And so, yeah, there's ways to be self-confident, but no one's ever perfect and 100% self-confident all the time. And so there's times when I think, "Oh my gosh, I have let go of all my demons, all my blind spots. I'm good." But what you realize is that with self work, you're never fully done. And you can always regress, and that's okay for you to regress. It's kind of like you need to have communities, coaches, family, friends around you, whatever you have in place who knows you well to kind of continue to help you on your journey and almost keep you in check. I mean, my husband, I would say in some ways knows me better than myself. And so he tells me, he's like, I think like something's happening here. There's something you need to unbox there. Same with my coach, too. The other day, my coach was like, "You've got a blind spot. You've got to figure this out." Or my therapist, I've got a bunch of different people in my life. And, some people probably look at my brand and they're like, "Oh my God, she's so confident." But there's no person who is confident 100% of the time. And that's okay. It's just as long as you keep working on it, because I think that people sometimes they give up before they even try. And that's when you stop trying, that's when it's dangerous. And I think that everyone should continue to try that.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And I love that. And yeah, people don't realize sometimes when they quit, they're like literally 3 feet from gold. And so, just one more push, you just never know where it can get you. And I love that you mentioned you have all these people as support, right? Because we do have a lot of blind spots. And yes, we can talk about confidence all day, every day, 24/7, but you're right. We're not always going to be confident. I'm not always confident. There's days where I'm like far from confident, or there's days where I'm definitely make a lot of mistakes. I'm definitely not perfect, but it's okay to show up that way because nobody is, right? And sometimes social media paints this photo like we always have to be perfect with the filters. And because of that, so many people are going through body dysmorphia, Zoom dysmorphia. I mean, it's unfortunate that all this happened. So I love that you mentioned that great definition. And Misa, what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
So people probably wouldn't even recognize me before I went to college in terms of how I carried myself. I was extremely shy, borderline mute, I would say. I was so nervous. My mom was so worried about me because I talked so little outside of the house. So I was very close to my sister growing up. I loved my mom growing up, but at school it was not a safe place for me for multiple reasons. Because I was so quiet and unconfident, I didn't have many friends. I was the only person, even though I'm half white, technically I'm perceived as a person of color, as the only person of color. It's a very non-diverse environment, very small class. So when you have a small class for the same year, every single year in elementary school, and then another small class the same year, every single year for 7 years straight from sixth grade to 12th grade, you can never reinvent yourself. You're put in the same box. And so I had glasses and braces, very unconfident. I had dyslexia on top of that, so I hated school most of the time. And I had to work so hard to just even kind of survive there in a way, in terms of grades, in terms of just I felt almost like I had to put on armor going to school mentally, both grade wise, but also just the girls are so, gosh, girls can be just so catty and so crab mentality, especially in the teenage years. So I had a lot of hurt that happened, a lot of bullying, and I never want that to happen to my kids. I'm so scared it could happen to my daughter because she's such a nice, sweet girl. And so then college rolls around and it's so fabulous. I get to just totally start a fresh slate at UCLA where we have a 50% Asian population. I thought, oh my God, these are my people. Wow, there's so many I joined the half Asian club. Most of my friends were Asian. It was just this huge aha moment of just, wow, I get to start all over. And, not everyone's staring at me when I walk into the cafeteria. It's okay if I eat by myself at the cafeteria. I have friends now, genuine, authentic friends. And so that was when things started looking up for me, confidence wise and socially. And I started my first business as well at 18, and I knew entrepreneurship was the right route. And so it's kind of like, the struggles you have, they're not all bad. That's how I see. I have such extreme empathy for the underdog, for the people who are bullied, for the people who they don't feel like they fit in, because that was me so much of my life. And I feel like I'm a nicer, kinder, more empathetic person because of what happened to me. If I just coasted through that, I probably wouldn't have that experience. So I try to look at it just like my confidence journey is meant to be how it's meant to be. And I do appreciate life a lot more now.
Thanks for sharing that. And I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And there's so many people out there who's been bullied based on how they look, their cultural background. And I think now in this day and age, it's even worse with the power of social media. It's the mental health that you are going through, and so I wouldn't want that for anybody else as well. It's not good. I mean, I recently read an article about a 11-year-old boy from Ohio or Idaho who just died by suicide at 11 because he was ridiculed by his peers, and just to hear that breaks my heart, right? Because nobody should go through that. And so I'm glad you're speaking up, talking about this. And, I was just curious, what made you to decide to start the Authentic Asian? What was that aha moment that made you want to go out there and start this amazing movement and community of other Asian women, uplifting them? Like we have the same mission. Uplifting Asian women is important because we never had that representation. And for me, representation does matter. But I'd love to hear your aha moment on that.
I feel that it was an overnight success. I like to say it's an overnight success 20 years in the making. And the reason for that is I've been building businesses since I was 18. And just even at 20 years old, I built a six-figure business, a jewelry business out of my dorm room. And I get invited to this pitch competition nationally where you pitch to investors your business plan and your business idea. And it's all other college students. And I arrive and it's literally just all white male students. And that's kind of that. I mean, that will not only triggered just how growing up, how I was so non-diverse, but I was thinking, wow, this business world is really not diverse. And that just continued throughout, my different businesses I built throughout my 20s. Just, you get used to being the one and the only in the room. You have to work twice as hard to be taken seriously. And it's lonely. It's a lonely journey. And I did join, I really recommend Ace Next Gen. It's a great organization for early stage Asian entrepreneurs. But I really was yearning, especially as I became a mom and as I became older, for an all Asian American female space. I really, really wanted that. And I wanted to incorporate women in corporate as well, because I felt like we had a lot of synergies. And the aha moment out of loneliness was that I was really tired of getting hit on in the male spaces. To be transparent, I was like harassed, hit on a lot. It always happened every time. And I continued to have to put that armor on mentally before going into these spaces, whether in the business world or any of these other communities. Even in the female communities, I joined one in Silicon Valley and I vowed to just never join one again because the women totally bullied me in this community. Most of them were And I'm not saying that all female communities are bad, but this particular one had a negative culture. And I think it's super easy for female communities to have crab mentality and scarcity mindset because there's so few of us at the top. So I really watched that when building my community. And so it wasn't until I started earning my alumni status at Harvard Business School, went to Women of Color and Leadership, which Sheena, if you can go to that, oh, you would just, you need to be in that class. You would just thrive there and be such a great person there. It's taught by Linda Hill. She's one of our members. She's the longest tenured woman of color professor at Harvard Business School. And she had this whole session on the negative stereotypes that Asian American women had to face. And I thought, why is there no one that has built a community focused around this? And it's because there's so few of us. There's so few of us in leadership positions. There's so few of us in general, but who have broken the ceiling, it's even fewer. And so I do see us as a little bit of a forgotten minority. And there's multiple reasons for that. There's so few of us. We're also taught culturally just to like kind of have tiara syndrome, put our head down and work and not figure out how to like advocate for ourselves more. There's so many things, so much baggage we carry. I mean, I've carried that baggage for 2 decades and I decided finally to get help. And I got help by when I got back from the Women of Color and Leadership program, I was so lonely. I wanted that space so badly again, and realizing I only got it for 5 days to be with other women of color, and then it was gone. I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to build this. And I was in a career transition where I knew I wanted to build something next, trying to figure out what it was. I tried a couple things that didn't work out. And this just felt really right with my personal brand, with my values, everything. And it turns out it's my ikigai, which is where it's your passion. You're really fabulous at it, and there's a really strong market for it. And so it was an overnight success, 20 years in the making. It turned into a six-figure business within a couple months of launching, 100 women in less than 100 days. Just now we're at about 250 women. I'm trying to figure out how many women to cap it at so that's still intimate. Sponsorships taking off like crazy. So it's just been really, I mean, of course, it's not, every day is not perfect. There's days when I cry and it's so hard. The cultural aspect is the hardest part. But most of the time, this has to exist for us. And it's my mission to help uplift Asian American women, whether through this community or even just being on this podcast, talking to you and connecting with you. Which, by the way, you have this new book coming out. We have to have you come back in for a fireside chat.
Yes, I do have a new book coming out, Bridging the Confidence Gap, How Empowered Women Change the World, really stem from the World Economic Forum saying that gender parity was going to be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. But that's at the time I wrote it. Now it's delayed 4 more years. So now it's 2158. And so this is a roadmap to women in leadership. And this is for all women, right? And so I'm really excited about that. And yes, I will be there. Just let me know when. And I'm really glad that you did start this. I started the podcast for the same exact reason. I felt alone. I felt like nobody understood what I was going through. But really, we just needed a platform where women can share their stories and share their confidence journeys so that we realize we're not alone in this. There's so many people out there who are also going through the same thing. And so I love your mission. I love that you're doing this. And I love how you mentioned an overnight success, 20 years in the making, because a lot of people think, yes, it's an overnight success, but you don't know what happened behind the scenes. It took 20 years to get to this moment. So I love that you mentioned that. And, Misa, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in a similar journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you would give to her?
I would say, just like most things, it's baby steps. So don't look just that for one big thing that'll happen that will just be like, oh, suddenly, it's a silver bullet. There's no silver bullets in life. Everything is a baby step. So whether just even doing body language, confidence poses every day, or signing up for something that scares you, that speech at work, or doing that presentation at work, or doing that TEDx talk, every single thing, it's small building blocks that build up to make the building. You can't just build Rome. What is it? Rome wasn't built in a day. And so, yeah, there are certain big milestones that you can take a turn. So, me going to UCLA, that was huge. But still, it's the small moments there that got me towards my confidence. going to Harvard Business School was one of the best decisions I made in my life, but it's actually going there, but then the small moments there that built me up towards where my personal brand and where my confidence is today. And so I recommend to just see what can facilitate that. Maybe it's a strong partnership with someone else in your life, a friendship, a partner, whatever it is. Maybe it's finding that coach. Maybe it's joining a community. Figure out what it is that you need to get you on that track towards confidence. And then it's just a continuous journey. You're never fully done.
I love that tip. I say the same thing all the time. And I love that you also say Rome wasn't built in a day, because I always say that also. I always say, it's the small, actionable daily steps that yield the big results, and you just take it one step at a time. So I love that you mentioned that. Like, great minds think alike. That's all I'm going to end it with. And Misa, if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or want to learn more about the Authentic Asian, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, so they can follow me on LinkedIn, Misa Chien. I have a newsletter that's all geared towards Asian American women. You can apply as a member, authenticasian.com. We are still accepting applications at this time for the community.
Awesome. And thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Misa, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Misa's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just really want to thank Misa today for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much, Misa.
Thank you.
Not a problem. It was such an honor having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. You can now purchase The Tao of Self-Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within on Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Walmart, Indigo, and other major book retailers. Get your copy today. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetowofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.